Hello and welcome to Scamp School. Today we're looking at the basic skills you'll need to put your D&AD New Blood entry film together. Don't forget to check the brief to see what you need to submit, as a presentation video may not be right for you. Also, we're not saying doing it this way will guarantee you a New Blood pencil, but it's how we like to do it and thought you might find it helpful if you're new to editing. Before we start, there are lots of programs available to create and edit your film, but today we're going to be focusing on Adobe Premiere Pro. First off, it's a great idea to keep your files organised. It really helps later down the line when you need to make amends or changes. This is the file structure I use to stay on top of it all. Start by creating an overall folder for your video in your documents. I'm saving mine onto the desktop just to show you. Inside this folder, you'll need 3 subfolders. Project, to save your working files, Media, to save any raw media files, and Scratch, which is kind of like a backup file that Premiere generates. Now this setup would be enough for basic projects, but you could benefit from more subfolders to organise your files within these. Now open Premiere and select New Project. Name your project and find your project folder from earlier as your location. Default settings here should be sufficient at this stage. Now let's import some video files. In newer versions of Premiere, importing media is really easy. Simply click and drag your media into the project window in the bottom left. You'll see a thumbnail of your media appear. This works for stills and audio too. Now we need to create a sequence. There are a few ways to create a sequence in Premiere, but I think a great foolproof way is this. First, create a Photoshop file that matches the desired size and ratio you need. In this case, D&AD recommend you submit in this aspect ratio. So if you create a Photoshop file with those dimensions, you'll know it will be the right size. Save that as a transparent PNG layer and import that into your project. Now right-click that PNG file and select New Sequence from Clip. You should now see your timeline and a preview window has your PNG in it. You can delete the PNG layer from your timeline now, as you won't need it. Try dragging your footage into your timeline. If your clip has audio, you should now see the video layer on top and the audio layer on the bottom. You should also see a yellow line just below your timer. This means everything is correctly formatted and rendered. If it's red, don't worry, it just means that your footage doesn't match your sequence settings and will need rendering later. Now for some basic tools that you'll be using to edit your sequence. Hit the V key to get the select tool. This is used for selecting and moving your clips around the timeline. You can also move this blue indicator to scrub through the clip. To cut, hit the C key and you'll see a little razor cursor appear. Now when you click on the clip, it will make a cut at that point. By default, if you click near the indicator, it will snap to that exact frame, so you can make precise cuts. If you need to get a closer look at the clip in the timeline, you can zoom in and out using this bar at the bottom of the timeline. Now, once you've used all of that and you've got a rough cut together, you can export it. To export your sequence, go to File, Export, and Media. If you use the PNG layer from earlier, you should be able to just click Match Sequence Settings. If not, you can select an appropriate preset from the drop-down menu or by entering the details manually. Then change the output name to something relevant and select your folder as a location. And also check that your output is the correct file format. Now click Export and wait for Premiere to do its thing. Remember to allow plenty of time before the deadline, as exporting does take time. And that should be all you need to know to get started. There's more to come on editing your video entry, so subscribe to D&AD and Scamp School to get the latest tips. Thanks for watching.